There's a small village encircled by sea and mountains called La Place. There are things one must never do, even in a peaceful place like this. Like, for instance, forming contracts with devils. It's forbidden to get close to them. This is my price, and this is also part of my service. Noel the Mortal Fate. I had my eye on this game for a while and I kind of feel bad for neglecting it. It was developed by Kanowo, you know, the guy who made Blank Dream, but this time it's a full-on action RPG. Well, as much action as you can get with RPG Maker. But that didn't stop me from loving the shit out of this game. And you should too. Why? Well, let's find out together, shall we? Noelle Cerchetti, the daughter of the noble Cerchetti family, has her eyes set on becoming the city's ceremonial pianist, the highest honor one could receive. Coming from a family of pianists, it was her duty to win, but as fate would have it, she ended up losing to her best friend, Jillian Littner. She lashes out at her and storms out of the ceremonial hall. Russell Burroughs, the mayor of Laplace, took this opportunity to speak to her. What if someone had something to do with the results? Come to the abandoned building by the harbor by yourself. Think well if you want to learn what happened, but if you do, know that your entire life might change enormously. That scared me. Crows. They seem a bit ominous. Noelle is greeted by the mayor's secretary, Sibylla Becker, who tells her about Stella Stage, the sponsor of this year's competition, and the possibility that they may have endorsed one of the pianists. Suddenly, all the hard work Noelle had put in was all for naught. The title she deserved was taken from her due to something out of her control. She became a victim, but there was a solution. A switch that would help her get revenge on the ones who wronged her. A devil. Great devils are capable of granting any wish by forming a contract with the one who summoned it. Noelle would be able to kill the director of Stella Stage and no one would find out about it. She'd finally be given the title she rightfully deserved. I will do it. I will form a devil contract and become the real ceremonial pianist. Noelle summons the great devil Charon. She tells him to kill the director because the competition wasn't judged properly, but he refuses. There's only one reason a human would kill another. He wanted the truth. To become the ceremonial pianist. And he laughs. Oh, that's wonderful, little girl. Are you insane? It's quite illogical, but that's human greed after all. He snaps his fingers. I have finished. He is dead. But just as Noelle was about to celebrate, don't forget to pay the price. This is also a part of my service. Neither of them have realized that they played right into Sibylla's hands. Noel was used as a scapegoat so that she would suffer the price instead of Russell, something Charon wasn't aware of, but at that point, it was already too late. Noel was on the verge of death. All she could do was let out a cry for help before being tossed into the sea. The two of them eventually form a second contract to enact revenge on Mayor Burroughs. And that's just the beginning. Whenever the topic of vengeance comes around, it's more times than not frowned upon by everyone. You are seen as just as bad as the person who hurt you, but hear me out for a sec. If someone kicks you in the nuts, what are you gonna do? Say, listen, I know you got a lot on your mind, and I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. No! You're gonna kick them back, smack them around a few times. That's what I like about this game. It changes your perspective of what vengeance is and what it means to our main characters. At first, Noel didn't feel justified about getting revenge on Burroughs. She blamed herself for giving in to her desires and putting Jillian in danger and thought maybe she'd be better off dead. But Charon tells her that dying isn't going to solve anything. It's only going to add another layer of selfishness. If Noel really wanted to apologize, then she should tell Jillian herself. Charon pushes and Noel pulls. This dynamic is the foundation of their relationship. Noel doesn't want to be burdened by the weight of her mistakes and kicks down the barriers that are in front of her. Although she lost her limbs, she's still alive. She still has an opportunity to set things right. And the times her resolve faltered, Charon was there to steer her back. He stopped Noel from killing Sibylla because that would make her just another murderer. She was filled with so much anger that it blinded her from the bigger picture, and Charon was having none of that. They both shared a common goal, meaning they both needed to be on the same page with each other. I like that. You'd think Charon being a devil would care less if Noel went and did things on her own. He was made out to be someone who enjoyed toying with people's emotions, but he ended up being the voice of reason for the majority of the game. The longer he stayed with Noel, the more he thought about what it meant to be a great devil. Was he just there to form contracts and collect the price? Or was there more to it? As the game progresses, we're given more and more information regarding his connection with Burroughs and what revenge meant for him. Noel actually ended up helping Charon break free from his past, and from then on, they've created an inseparable bond. Charon no longer toys with people's emotions, and instead tries to understand the wish of the contractee. Fugo, Oscar, and Jillian all challenged Noel's resolve at some point. Did she have the strength to fight and protect those she cared about? Was she willing to sacrifice everything for revenge? And was revenge even worth it at the end? Overcoming these boundaries steeled her resolve. Her determination and charisma were what helped these three face their battles as well. If she can do it, then so can I. I'll be honest, the other characters are kind of one-dimensional. They definitely do their job in the game they're in, but that's sort of the extent of their character. I didn't feel like I knew who Fugo, Oscar, or Jillian were inside and out, and it's not necessarily their fault they were written that way, but more so how the story was written. With how fast the plot was going, there wasn't any room to fully flesh out the characters, aside from their backstories. What'd they do in their free time? Did they have any hobbies? With the exception of Season 3.5, it was just business all day, every day. Which is good if you don't enjoy filler, but having played Blank Dream, a game that was super character driven, I was kinda let down by the characters in Mortal Fate. There are a couple of exceptions. Coffin Neris is my favorite character in the game. She's this badass casino owner who felt like Noel's first actual rival. She made a contract with the devil, selling half her body to manipulate her fate, all for the thrill of gambling. It's just win big, lose big, and that's what's so likable about her. She really pushed Noel to her limit by draining her confidence and making her think that her friends left her to die. But as soon as Noel regained her composure, Coffin started to get excited. She never cared about Burroughs' plans, all she wanted to do was gamba. And you know what? I'm all about it. Spica is the third great devil we'll meet, and she's just a bundle of little shit energy. You'll look at her and think, yeah, she probably stays in her room all day, Doritos in one hand, fucking Baja Blast in the other, watching Karen compilations on YouTube thinking, man, there are some dumb people in this world, whilst flaming aunties on Twitter calling them all sorts of racial and derogatory slurs, completely disregarding the consequences of her actions, all while her parents are telling her to get a job because she hasn't had a stable one in the last 5 years, but chooses to drown out their nagging with the soothing sound of specifically Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. You know what I mean? Also, she calls one of the characters a fucking MILF. I am not kidding. Someone went over to the localization and said, okay, like what is this, a Spike Chunsoft game? I can only imagine Date calling someone a MILF.
Date, the hard drive was full again. I had to make space, so I deleted all your cuckoldry videos.
First, I told you, those are husbandry videos. Second, why? Why did you do that?
This has got to be the most ambitious RPG Maker game I've played. It had a ton of different game modes, from your basic push block puzzles, to scavenging, stealth missions, even a tactical strategy board thing. They weren't anything too crazy, but I appreciate them wanting to change things up each chapter. The combat is where I had some issues. Almost every fight starts and ends the same. The boss will do a few attacks you'll have to dodge, and then you'll be given the opportunity to attack. There's little to no variance, and the fact that the attacks are telegraphed in a way that you'll have more than enough time to dodge them makes these fights rather trivial. That said, I think the game would have been much better if it was turn-based. This would solve all the running around to dodge attacks and add a bit more variance to spice it up. This would also give more value to the various stances. Stances are attributes you can equip to Charon. Aside from affecting your health and attack stat, you'll receive bonuses like knockback, damage immunity, and critical hit chance. You can change them on the fly, which is kinda cheesy, but not really. Unless you're in a super specific situation, I never found myself going, man, I should have used this stance instead. It also doesn't help with the fact that they just threw away the stance system altogether from Season 8 onward. Now you just get a shield that protects you from one hit and a critical attack, both of which refill over time or with the respective potions. I don't know why they decided to do that. Had it been implemented better, I think stances would have been a great way to tailor to different playstyles, but now it's even more brain dead. Currency in this game is also kinda strange because it doesn't feel as important as it probably should have been. You earn P from completing missions, which you can then use to buy potions, and only potions. You don't get a whole lot either, but it's more than enough to get you through the season. Speaking of which, the game is divided into 14 parts, each of which are their own separate game, meaning the P that you earned from the previous season doesn't carry over. So what's even the point of having currency if you're gonna start from zero anyway? I don't know. At least the gremlin guy's pretty cute. The music, I gotta say, pretty fire. There's a nice mix of high-octane techno beats for the more intense moments and melodic piano pieces for triumphant ones. And let me tell you, it goes fucking hard at some points. Just listen to this. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't close to tearing up at some points either. It's one of those games where the soundtrack hits harder the further you get into the game. It's some good shit, and I recommend you give it a listen. Visually, the characters look great. All of them have distinct features that make them stand out. Each time a character gets introduced, they're given a nice little splash animation. Same goes for the bosses. Whenever a major event occurs, there's this really rough CG that shows up and they look amazing. They really translate the emotions and make the climactic scenes hit that much harder. From Season 8 onward, we're given a slight redesign. Aside from a few UI changes, the sprites look a tiny bit cleaner, but that's really it. The environments though, they feel kinda empty. There's barely any people in most of these, and the world building just wasn't there. Take this town for example named Town, bottom of the map. Like, come on, you might as well just call it Place. Oh wait. Aside from 2 people at the bottom of the map and a few people in the cafe, it's just a barren wasteland. It's pretty obvious that these locations only serve to progress the story rather than exploration. That's the main reason why I chose to open this video with the manga adaptation. Admittedly, it handled the first half of Season 1 so much better than what we saw in game because of how vibrant it was. And I know it's not a fair comparison, but I can't even find the rest of the chapters, let alone English translations, so you're still gonna have to play the game. Luckily for you, this game was also released on PS4 and Switch, and brought about improved graphics, translations, and some other little gameplay things that weren't in the original. And I gotta say, it looks so much better than the Steam version. The colors pop out at you, the environments, while still empty, have a lot more personality to them. You can imagine my excitement after playing Season 3.5 that Seasons 8 onward would have the same sort of treatment. It didn't, and I was very sad. The only downside is that these versions only go up to Season 7. At the time, Season 8 hadn't been released yet, and my only guess is that the game wasn't popular enough to warrant a re-release or some sort of DLC. So if you're gonna play this game, I recommend just buying it on Steam along with the DLC. You do lose out on what could have been, but at least you save some money, right? So after listening to me ramble about all the game's shortcomings, you're probably thinking, wow, this game's pretty shitty. And to be honest, that's what I thought too. The first 2 seasons were kinda too cheesy for me, but it really started to pick up during Season 3. You really start to develop a connection with these characters. You want to see them get back on their feet and see their resolve through to the end. There's enough twists and cliffhangers to leave you wanting more. What's the mayor hiding? What shadows still lurk in Laplace? And how are Noel and Charon going to stop him? The suspense just gets bigger and bigger until you reach the end, and well, I'll leave that for you to find out.